you're like me, you spend lots of time poring over maps, looking at weather data, all in an effort to help predict when and where my best times to hunt will be. It'd be nice if there was a reliable source with all this information in one place. Enter the Spartan Forge app. Unlike some other predictive apps on the market, Spartan Forge was created from military combat intelligence experience tailored for hunters, and stands at the nexus of machine learning and white-tailed deer hunting. No more man-made algorithms. This is a predictive model based on real GPS collared deer data, historical and predictive weather, and the next level of mapping imagery, all at my fingertips. I've been using the iOS app this season, and it has replaced all my other mapping tools. Visit SpartanForge.ai and sign up today, or head to your iOS or Android app store. Use the promo code TRUTH to save some money and download it today. Mobile hunters, if you're interested in upping your mobile game, then head to tetherednation.com and check out their saddle gear. There are a few things you can actually buy that will help you become a better deer hunter or give you the freedom to hunt any tree or any situation. This is the reason why I started saddle hunting in the first place and why I use Tethered's gear. I can honestly say that Tethered's saddle gear has changed how I hunt for the better. Big tree, little tree, from the ground, it doesn't matter. I'm untethered by my gear to hunt the best setup for the situation, instead of hunting for a tree that my gear can use. My current core setup consists of the Phantom saddle, tethered one sticks, and the Predator platform, along with an assortment of their accessories. So if you want to up your mobile game, head over to tetherednation.com. Welcome to the Truth from a Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Spartan Forge. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 322. Today I'm joined by my good buddy Greg Litzinger to talk big woods bow hunting, so stay tuned. All right. What is up, everyone? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are feeling fine. I recently just got back from the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg. So if you haven't yet made it out that way, if you're in the archery hall, slip by the Exodus booth. They're in the archery hall. I think it's 927 is the booth number, and then 1033 are our buddies from Tethered. But it was a good day hanging out at the Tethered and the Exodus booth yesterday. Got to run into a bunch of you folks that listen to the show. It's always good to kind of meet folks, be able to talk some deer hunting. I don't get out to these things too awful often, so it is good just to kind of put some names to faces, people that I've been chatting with, on social media and so forth, and just hearing about people's seasons and what they got coming up for next year and things of that nature. And that's actually what I'm planning is hopefully I'm going to take my first kind of scouting trip in the old Mauve Bomber this upcoming weekend. So I'm stoked to do that. But with that, going to go ahead and do one piece of housekeeping for you guys, and then we're going to go ahead and just jump into today's show. So you guys heard me mention in the past couple episodes the Exodus Rival camera. So if you're going to the show, be sure to check it out. They got some deals going on at the show that you won't want to miss out on if you're looking to pick up a cell camera. But they recently launched the Rival cell camera. That's the newest to their line of trail cameras, and what it really is them just paying attention to what people have been saying, and that they're really kind of looking for a more budget-friendly camera, and that's exactly what Exodus is delivering. So they've been working behind the scenes to kind of pull things together, building out their next generation of cameras. As I mentioned, taking all your feedback into consideration and just kind of delivering, in their opinion and mine, as I finally got my hands on it, I got to check it out, like the best budget cell camera, flat out period, that you'll find in the market. It comes in at a price point at $179, but as I mentioned, if you're interested in going to be at the Great American Outdoor Show, you can pick up a show discount on that as well. Just talk to the guys at the booth; they'll set you up with that. But also, you're not getting skimped on anything there either. It's you're getting the same 5-year warranty, no BS warranty that you would get with any of their cameras is included with this. And this thing's just built durable, like all their other cameras. So you won't, unless unforeseen circumstances happen, you likely won't need that. But a few of the specs on this thing: it's a 0.3 second trigger speed, 70-foot detection distance with adjustable sensitivity, 30-second photo transmission, adjustable image quality on upload of photos. You can get crisp HD images as well. Compatible with the Exodus SP18 solar panel, which I use on all my cell cameras. And then once again, you get that 5-year no BS warranty that comes with all of their trail cameras. So they actually opened up a pre-sale around January 16th. But if you're not going to be going to the Great American Outdoor Show, you can use the promo code LAUNCH. That's LAUNCH. Then that will save you $30 off each camera while supplies last, or by February 14th at midnight. At that point, they're going to shut her down, but I'll just give you guys a heads up. I know the inventory that we had at the show and stuff like that. You're going to want to go ahead and jump on this immediately. So help support the folks that support this podcast. Head over to ExodusOutdoorGear.com. Use that promo code LAUNCH. Save yourself some cash and pick up the Exodus Revival cell camera. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's show. Have my good buddy, Mr. Greg Litzinger, on. You guys know him. You love him. We usually always like to do... Well, Greg and I actually do a couple shows during the course of the year, but we always do one in the summer. And then we usually try to catch up, right after the season sometimes, just to kind of talk about, how his year had been. Both sometimes lick our wounds, sometimes, celebrate some successes and stuff like that. And this is really that first opportunity that Greg and I had a chance to actually get together, just because of hunting season. We're both kind of busy that time of year, and it makes it hard for us to get together in person. So what we talk about a little bit today is a little bit about Greg's season, but more specifically, we talk about his kind of dissecting this new Big Woods piece. I shouldn't say new Big Woods piece, but a Big Woods piece that he's been kind of working on. And this was year 2 for him, and he learned some stuff last year. He made a play on some things this year. And things didn't necessarily work out the way he thought he was going to. He had a killer season, but he ended up learning some additional intel that he needs to make some tweaks to some of the areas that he's setting up, and and access and things of that nature. And so, what he always kind of says, and he and I have talked about this in the past, especially as I've been breaking down, for the past 2 years, the North piece, which is a Big Woods piece. We always kind of say like year 3 is really when you're probably going to start to have your opportunities, if you've done your work correctly. And that's kind of where he's at with this Big Woods piece. Next year will be the 3rd year. This will be the 3rd year for me in this Big Woods piece that I've been kind of playing around on. And then we talk a little bit about some marsh hunting and stuff like that, because of course he's doing that as well. And then at the end, we do a little very quick Q&A session. So appreciate all you guys that wrote in. You guys always kill it when you guys write questions in, and we kind of just aggregated them into kind of themes. And so we have a handful of questions as opposed to doing the marathon session that sometimes Greg and I do with question and answer. We just kind of bundled them together and said, hey, here's a theme, here's a question related to that theme, and we answered. So hope you guys dig the show. As always, I want to thank you all for listening. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. And today I have my brother from another mother. You know him, you love him. The one, the only, Greg, by God, effing Litzinger. And the crowd goes wild.
What's happening?
What's going on, man? Long time no see, buddy. It's been a little while, dude.
Yeah, it's been
since the summer. It's kind of how it always works.
Yeah. We don't hunt together. We just hang out.
Yeah. I know, man. We actually don't hunt together. Well, that's an interesting question, because how many of your buddies that you would consider to be your hunting buddies, right? Do you actually hunt with? Because we all have like handfuls of hunting buddies, and those are guys that we talk hunting with a lot.
My circle is pretty much almost non-existent now.
Yeah.
If I, Todd, he's the closest one. He's 40 minutes from the house.
Right.
I think we do Delaware and a few hunts around here, but
right.
Like my close, Tony, he didn't hunt at all this year. He messed up his shoulder the year before. He didn't really hunt.
Right.
It's just as we get older, so we're just spreading further and further apart.
Right.
It's like as I've gotten older, I hunt more, and people I started hunting with, they seem to be hunting less. Shooting the bow less, and it's like, well,
right.
That's just the way it is, I guess.
Yeah. So it was interesting because I just did a podcast with my buddy Jace Allen, and he went on that long, I won't say trip because it was multiple trips, but he did like long runs, and he did something like 96 total days of hunting, during the course of the season, and worked very, very minimally. And we talked a little bit about his preference to actually hunt alone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really like to hunt in groups. And it's not like he doesn't like his friends, but he just prefers to be alone when he hunts, especially if he's going to hunt, multiple days or take a trip or whatever. So I'm curious, do you prefer to hunt alone, or do you like to hunt with a buddy?
It's 50-50 with me, probably.
Yeah.
There's sometimes I just want to be.
I must be on that other 50 because I ain't never hunted with you.
It's like there's, go to like Johnny's house, like there's a camaraderie there. But
right. Yeah.
I've gone like North Jersey, like by myself. I don't mind, off grid net by myself. I kind of like that quietness. I ain't got no one to answer to but me.
Right.
But sometimes, like with the group of people, I'm usually like the guy giving out advice,
you're the elder.
Yeah, like there's pressure that comes with it. Like, what do you think about this? I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just they're trying to hunt it.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm trying to focus on me, but also like cater to like other people. So
yeah,
it can be a little frustrating, I guess, especially if if you're not really killing anything, it gets really frustrating.
Yeah,
because I want, especially when I'm with a group of people, I want other people to kill before me.
right.
It's like just like the dad instinct, taking over. Like, are you guys kill? Like, I'm content with you guys killing. When I'm by myself, it's like it's just me. Like
Right.
it's all me. Like dragging the deer out, it's me.
Right.
All that stuff. So I like that sometimes.
Right, but which do you prefer? Because like it was interesting when I was talking to Jace about this. Because like I don't hunt with a lot of people. I hunt probably 90% of the time. I hunt alone. It might even be higher. Like this year it was 100%. Because I'm with the Kansas, and that was a solo trip. But the only person I really actually hunt with, whitetails, that is, because I think it's different. Like when you're hunting, I won't say it's easier, but I think it's probably more, I don't want to say acceptable either. It's probably more prevalent that people that hunt whitetails hunt by themselves a lot. Western hunting, a lot of times you're with a buddy or two guys or whatever. It just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
You can pool resources and it just seems to make more sense, especially if you're not from those Western states, because be honest, like we don't like you get out there as a flatlander. It's like shit gets real quick out there. And if at least you got like 2 or 3 of you there, it's like you can figure it out,
I guess if I'm hunting woods that I know, like, and I've scouted and I've got a lot of intel, and I don't mind hunting by myself, but like bigger pieces, like an early season with Todd, like we're trying to find deer, we don't run cameras down where we're hunting. So it's like, it's nice to have another set of eyes. It's like, all right, what'd you see? Because we both have 2 cars. Like, I'll be over here, and we can kind of pull our resources together.
Yeah.
But like, if I'm hunting an area that I'm habitually hunt year in, year out, I kind of like being by myself.
Yeah. That's a good way to kind of cut it up, because I like doing like the out of state trips with Chad.
Yeah.
And I always say this, it's like, those trips are a lot easier when you have somebody who likes to hunt like you.
Yes.
You both kind of appreciate the fact that like, we could have some really sucky days, and that's just going to happen.
You bring up a good point with that. You're similar hunting styles.
Yeah.
My buddy Tony, he'll be down for anything. He's not as hardcore as me, but he'll get down and dirty when he needs to. He'll hunt the swamps and mountains. Johnny and Bo, those guys, like very similar. Like they'll put in work.
Right.
If you're trying to hunt with guys that don't hunt like you, it's like trying to hunt with my dad. It's tough.
Right.
Even as in his 60s, he wasn't the same. As he was aging, I was really ramping it up. So like we had different styles. My dad was like, I'm not walking that far.
Right.
So it's like, well, I want to go. And then he's back to the truck sooner. Where you at? So it's like there's a lot more things could be a headache.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to do it with someone who is compatible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like otherwise that's a quick way to ruin a hunting trip. But I'm curious, like, do you feel like when you're by yourself, are you more in the game than whenever you're with another person? I have a feeling on this. I don't have any like real concrete evidence other than just like a couple experiences.
No, I know. I guess it depends. I use like the most recent said hunting with Johnny. We feed off each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're very similar in that we can kind of push each other.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more. So if you kind of feel like, man, 3 days in a row you're not feeling it by yourself, you got no one there to like pump you up or anything.
Right,
so
right.
I guess I like having someone there in some situations, especially in a big wood setting.
Especially when it can be, I would agree with that.
The larger pieces, it's nice because
or just unfamiliar pieces.
Because you can be like, man, I ain't seen nothing, and then they could be a mile down the road. I'm like, dude, there's deer all over the place. Well, okay, you can put a game plan together and tackle those deer. Like small pieces, 500 acres and less. 2 people, it's nice to see if it's thick.
Mhm.
It'd be nice to have that, but it still just runs into, I stay as late as possible, even like after shooting like a lone my bow down, like very cautious, slow getting down.
Mm-hmm.
Some people aren't. Like they get back to the truck, they're waiting for you, or they're noisy leaving.
Right.
Especially if I got like a good spot. I know I like to just work my way out like super slow, super quiet, and other people are like just
Right. Someone's
just
sitting at the
blasting
truck going,
through.
like, come on, dude, let's go back. I want to go eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know from being out with Sylvester, the on those trips, especially because we didn't have a lot of familiarity with the area that we were in, it was helpful having two of us because there were some days where we would hunt a piece together maybe, or we would check trail cameras together and then start to make a game plan or whatever. So we had some cameras out in the one spot, just a few of them. And then it was also nice because we would kind of split up too, especially as we were trying to survey the land of like, because this was at that point, neither of us had been to Kansas before. And so it was, all ground hunting. It was all brand new to us. We never really, we've decoyed before, but not like that, and so that was kind of nice to have someone there because we both really didn't know what we were doing, and so he could make a mistake and then we could talk about it and I could know not to do that, you know what I mean? Or that's not going to work or whatever. So we were able to kind of, learn off each other a little bit more quickly. But I will say whenever I was in Iowa, I did like being by myself on that trip. And I don't know if I liked being by myself on that trip in hindsight because I killed on the last day. And it was one of those things where it took me 14, 15 days to do it. And damn it, that was all me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was not a single stitch of like anyone giving me any advice. Like, other than Corey, the guy I met out there who was like, hey, the area you're sniffing around, like I would keep sniffing around it,
Yeah.
So I don't know if like my memory of it is skewed because of the outcome.
Yeah. I think if I had to choose, I would prefer at least one solid hunt partner, or a small group.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something about like a camp feel when you got 20, 30 guys in a camp.
Right. So that would drive me crazy. I can't do 20, 30 guys, man.
Well, I mean, like late night back, we're just swapping stories. Yeah. Like there's that. But as far as like bow hunting, I guess 2 or 3 people, probably I'm good with that.
Yeah.
That's I can handle that. That's enough. Even if there's some ego stuff and stuff going on, you can. That's manageable.
Right.
You can handle that pretty well.
Right, and especially if you're picking those folks, and you need to know a lot about them because there's still like like I was saying, we have a lot of hunting buddies, right? And there's still like only a handful that I would maybe go whitetail hunt with, for more than like a dare. Like I've gone out and like Wilson and I whitetail hunted together, and we just go out and sit in a blind together in late season. It was more just he and I going out chopping it up, and if a deer came by, we would kill it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like we were trying real hard. It was just more so to hang out. Sylvester's one of them. You're one of them that I would take a trip with. I've not whitetail hunted with Hepler. He and I have turkey hunted together. I would hunt with Hepler.
He's got stuff.
Yeah, he's just the one thing Hepler's a hell of a hunter. Yeah. Like he's good. He knows his stuff. He can find deer. He spends a lot of time in the woods. Yeah. But more than like his actual hunting ability is the more time you spend with Hep, the more you realize like he's the guy. Whenever he comes into a room, he immediately brings the temperature down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like he brings everyone's pulse rate down to where you actually start making good decisions. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
he's a nurse too, right?
Yeah. So he's good under pressure.
Yeah.
And he's a trauma or like ER, like shit's getting buck wild. People are coming in from car accidents and like crazy stuff, So he's really good at like bringing the temperature down on a situation and can kind of
good in I guess in hunting camp, when things aren't going well, it's
or if there's a lot of stuff that's happening, you're trying to parse through. Like, man, I was here, and this deer was here, and like, and I know he was over here, and then I, and I was in this spot, and I saw a bunch of sign, but I didn't see deer. Yeah. Like, he's really good at like just going, okay, well, let's take all the emotion out of it. You know what I mean?
I want the emotion,
right? And he's just like, he doesn't say it, but it's the way he talks. Mm-hmm. It's the things that he focuses on when he does talk. You know what I mean? When he does make a point.
When I met him here, when you had your party, I got the same kind of energy from him. He was not necessarily the calming factor, but he was very in tune with our conversation.
Yeah.
And everything that was happening around.
He's very observant.
Yes.
That's and so as a hunting partner, it's like he sees a lot more than you might see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in terms of like hunting with him, like he's not presumptuous where he feels like you want his opinion. Like, you know what I mean? Like he, because that's the one thing. It's like, if you're in a hunting camp, it's like, unless you're tight, like if I were hunting with him, like he would know, like, dude, share with me, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, let's figure this out, but he doesn't presume that just because he knows something that everyone else is interested in hearing it. You know what I mean? And that's how he's able to bring the temperature down.
Yeah.
And whenever he talks, it's like, you're like, oh shit. Because he didn't spend 5 minutes trying to convince you. He just said, hey, this is what I saw.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, damn.
Yeah.
He didn't try to sell me on that. It was just like,
I got to buy this now.
Right. So he just dropped a straight dope on me, But those are just like the handful that I could see myself with, just because of, and he's fun to have around camp too. Like turkey camp was fun with him. He about caused me to lose an eye, taking me into some
That's always a good time.
God awful swamps.
Yeah.
He wanted to walk in through. Jesus. But man, let's do a transition here real quick, dude. How was you did a little traveling this year so far, man? Like how was or at least in the off season, how was the ATA? You were out there rubbing elbows with the muckety mucks, dude.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
See some good stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. The Latitude, their sticks were, I seen like the prototype last year. I was like, wow, if you can make it work, this is gonna be something
right,
pretty cool. And then actually seeing the finished product and what they had to get through to get to that point was like, wow, that's there's a smart group of guys, man.
Yeah,
they really have their stuffed out in,
right,
and I mean 3 years, I think close to 3 years developing something just to come to market, like that is, and something that's nobody's ever done before, like what they're using it and how they're using it.
Right.
It's like you listen to, you talk to them and it's like, wow, that's dedication.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't just like, hey, we're going to make a stick and then this is just a light stick. Like they went completely off grid, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like that, to me, I like that, guys that are really willing to push the envelope. Yeah.
And it's cool, man. Cause like the mobile hunting space has just been so, foot on the gas for like the past, it feels like 5 years, maybe 6, I feel like, but especially like the past 5.
Yeah. It was really ramping up probably about 10 years ago, 12 years. It really started like picking up steam, getting, mainstream, if you will.
Right.
And then it's just,
and then once the saddle guys all came in, then it was just like
they ruined it for everybody.
Yeah. But it's cool because
no, everybody's gonna be like, I keep buying more stuff. Come on, man.
Right. But it's cool because I'm always like every year when I see new stuff come out, because I mean, this as well as the people that listen to the show. It's like I'm a little bit of a gear nerd. I like to check new stuff out and play around with stuff and shit like that. And I'm always surprised every year because every year I'm kind of like, man, how can someone make another stick like that's different than the sticks that are already out there, right? But I think the good thing is now is that there's a lot of options. Like there used to not be options, you know, and now it's like there's so many different options depending on what you like.
It's too many options. It's like because I wanted to, you go through there. It's like, I don't 50. I would say 75 to 80% of AT I could care less about. It's just like whatever the commercial stuff, and that the small 15% is like, all right, these guys got it. It's like there's
some people that are doing some different stuff. Yeah.
There's not 3 days, whatever. It's still not enough time because you got to work the booth. But it's like, man, I need to really go check out this.
Right.
And like, I didn't shoot any bows this year. I was like, because it was like here or there, and it's like it's just not enough time.
Right. So outside of like, did you see anything outside of outside of saddle gear, or was there anything outside of that realm that you saw that really kind of tripped your trigger? Or was there anything just in general aside from the stick that where you were like, okay, wow, that's kind of interesting?
Nothing that really, that sticks out. Like that's I'm not going to say game changer because we know certain people love that word.
Yeah.
But a lot of cool, innovative stuff. Like what some of the tree stand manufacturers are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Getting lighter and a lot more machining going on with stuff.
Right.
And that's. I don't think we've hit the top of that yet. I think they're still going to be shaving some weight off of that.
You still think there's room to go on that?
They're going to find something.
I can't think of what. I mean, it's why I'm also not an engineer or product developer. I don't have the imagination.
So there's
for
material out there, like Expedition. I know they came out with the alloy, the riser, like aerospace alloy. And they're like super light. It's an aluminum boat. I guess it's like sub 4. It's like pretty big bow for that weight. So there's material out there I think people can use. Like the latitude guys. You just gotta.
Right.
Somebody's got to put time and effort into it to make it work in the hunting spectrum. But
time, effort, and resources.
Backpacks. There's a lot of people dump money in backpacks and ideas. Like a lot of backpacks. It's overwhelming because it's like everybody had a backpack this year for saddles. And a lot of us like that's cool. And it's like it was a little overwhelming. Like
oh wow, okay.
I can't even.
There's too many options.
Yeah,
here.
like Mystery Ranch. There was like the Trophy Line guys had theirs. The cruisers had. Everybody's got like latitudes. Working on a backpack too, like
and tethered released theirs before
so
ATA.
It's like holy smokes, man! This is like that's just crazy. And Timber Ninja, they got their camera arm. I was messing with that little thing, the carbon fiber one. That's pretty cool.
Okay, nice.
I might be picking one of those up. I kind of like carbon.
Yeah, I was talking to Bo about that actually whenever I was on his show there, a couple weeks ago. Because he and I both feel the same way. We were kind of lamenting the fact that like I want to film because I like when I get the footage and I'm able to look back on it and stuff like that. But God, do I hate setting everything up and taking everything with me? You know what I mean? It's one of those things. And then it wasn't until I got the Lone Wolf custom arm where I was like, okay, this isn't a complete pain in the ass. Like, so I'm willing to carry some of this stuff with me.
I have nothing good or bad to say about the arm. It just doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
I just don't. I've tried different heads, so maybe my head was.
I'll show you my setup downstairs.
So I bought an even smaller, like fluid head, like more of a friction style head. Like it works, but it'll still kick out from time to time, and it's like bolts are getting loose. I'm like it's just
right.
I want to just. It's too for me. It's a pain. Right. I spent a lot of time. I fix things for a living. And it's like I still can't get the thing to work right. And it's like I mean, there's sometimes like
maybe you got to be a mechanical idiot like me. It's
maybe
because man, I can't put like a nut into a washer. No, I'm just kidding. I say that to people, and they're like, "Dude, you built like a hoopty trailer that you travel across the country." And like, what do you mean you can't make anything? And I'm like, I don't know. That was like the one time where it was like
you were shining. Your skills were on point.
Yeah, it was like the Will Ferrell moment of like like old school when he blacks out. That was what happened. I blacked out for a summer. It was August, and I had a trailer. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, the bows that are pumping out. I mean, I didn't even shoot any. Just hearing them, like some of the bows are so quiet now.
Well, it's funny because Aaron and I were shooting last weekend. He came over, and we were messing around, just hanging out, talking shop, whatever. And I told him to bring his bow. I was like, hey, maybe we'll go outside and shoot because I wasn't sure if it was going to be raining or not because we've just been getting stupid amounts of rain. And it ended up being like it wasn't raining. So we're like, hey, let's go out and shoot a little bit. So we went out and shot. And like, it's hard to tell whenever you're behind the bow. You know what I mean? And I went and I did that bow review video where it's like I shot a bunch of different bows. But again, I was behind the bow all the time, And we were shooting and he was just like, man, he's like, that thing is so quiet. And I'm like, is it really? I'm like,
for real?
Yes. Like, that's awesome. Because like I can't tell because it sounds like a bow to me. Like,
because it's right there, and you don't pick up sounds like when it's right in front of you, you know, very well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's to your point, just talking about gear still, just in shooting all those bows, it's just amazing how far like bows have come, and even bows. I won't even say bad bows because I didn't shoot a bow out of all those flagship bows that I couldn't hunt with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like every single one of them, I could learn to like after I got familiar with it. You know what I mean? And that's it's amazing to me. It's like they all just shoot really, really well. Like you're really talking about degrees of difference. Like the technology and all of them are really, really, really good.
Now it's just a matter of grip, angle, and draw cycle.
Yeah,
that's all people.
And that becomes what your preference is. You know what I mean? It's like for me, I was never a Hoyt guy before, and Bob and AJ's turned me on to Hoyt, and I despised them, like to the point that I stopped shooting them whenever I was looking for a new bow because I'd never liked one. And I shot that thing and I was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah, I was like, this is like, it shoots.
Yeah.
Immediately shooting that bow with nothing on it, it already felt better than the Matthews I had been shooting for a year loaded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the hand shock was less, like it just felt good. In the draw cycle, I didn't really realize it so much until like much later, like how smooth the draw cycle was. Cause for me, it was more all about like the hand, like how it felt in my hand. Like it just felt better, And then whenever I shot everything back to back, like you can really tell like the difference in draw cycle, like how they feel. And some guys are like, I never really realized how big of a hump Matthews has. You know what I mean? Like when you get into like, when you drop into the back wall, and that is like, after you shoot, a Hoyt or whatever, like a couple different rips, and you pick that thing up, then it's like all of a sudden it's like holy shit, man! Like that thing's got a big hump as it drops into the back wall or whatever. But I never noticed it for years.
For me, I've been shooting like that carbon icon. I don't see myself ever hunting with a non carbon fiber type riser.
Right.
Especially when it's cold, because I hate wearing gloves. I hate shooting with gloves on.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've picked up the Elite at the local shop by me, the Arrow, whatever it's called. That's light. Carbon bow that's light. For me, like, by the time I load everything on, I don't need a heavy bow for whitetail hunting. You know, so I like a really light bow. So it's like, I look at the price, I'm like, never going to buy one of those things.
Right,
like
right.
$1,600. I'm like, maybe in a few years.
Man, the lightest bow I ever picked up was actually Aaron's when he was over this weekend. It was an old.
I got the same bow.
Yeah. That bow. Like I forget how many years old is that?
Mine's 2 or 3. His
2 or 3.
He might have the Carbon Niter, which they've been around forever. That riser's been around forever.
Yeah, it's the same exact one that you shoot. I remember him telling me, he's like, this is the same bow Greg shoot. Dude, that thing is the stupid lightest thing that I've ever seen in my life.
And like for me, like I often on shoulders.
Yeah.
It's good, it's bad. So it's like having a light bow and carrying all day, it's like you don't even feel it.
Yeah.
Especially like in the mountains. It's like I took that thing elk hunting. It was like all day long. I was like, well, no problem,
Right. But the one thing I always did, and like the Hoyt's been, a tank for me, but the one thing I always did like about Matthews is like, dude, I could literally throw that thing out of the tree, pick it up, and shoot a dime piece from 60 yards. You know what I mean? That thing would just be like, I could use it as like a walking stick, you know what I mean? And then shoot something with it. It was just that solid.
Yeah.
But so now that ATA's over, hunting season's obviously over. What are you?
Nothing is over.
Nothing is 365. 24/7, 365, dude. What the hell are you doing with your time now, dude? That you're, everything's kind of, well, we have the Harrisburg stuff coming up, but I know we're both going to be there with some buddies and stuff like that. But beyond that, it's like season's over. Like, what's Greg Litzinger doing with his time now?
Trying to. Said I want to scout. I'm
getting ready for your bikini competition.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get the beach body going on. The big woods by my house.
I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I kind of, it's third year going in. That's usually like the deal breaker for me. Like if I can't get it done in the third year in a piece, like I've really put a lot of time in there. Like came close here a few times, and it's like this is when it should come to fruition. On average, usually I'll release an arrow on average 3 years into a piece if I'm really into that piece, really been into this. So hopefully this is the year. But
and now is this year number 3 or was this past year number 3?
This will be year number 3 coming up.
Okay.
I mean, I've always hunted it, but like almost exclusively hunted this. So it's like that hopefully this is the year.
Right.
I'm glad this year wasn't because I mean I didn't really get the biggest deer I might have been 115.
Right.
Which is still a nice deer.
Right.
I mean, but the 2 years prior when I was running the cameras out there, I mean, those 130s, 140s. Yeah. This year was just awful.
It was a different year, man. Like well, I know you and I texted back and forth and we talked, like during the course of the year, and it was an off year for sure. Me for sure.
An odd year for big bucks.
Yeah.
just even deer in general. Like I didn't see the amount of deer that I usually do,
Right.
and I scouted. I mean, I think the whole month of September, I walked more than I hunted,
Really.
trying to find something.
Right.
Like it was like a ghost town, and it was like I should have thrown in the towel, but I was like, I want to keep going, And there was 6, maybe 8 sits, 8 times went out. Like I scouted, found nothing. Walking up the what would be left of a creek bed, just dry Sahara desert, like not even cutting tracks.
And these were all places that you had at least like an inkling of an idea from previous, like either scouting or whatever, that like, hey,
and
there should be deer in this area.
Water holes, like the little isolated water holes that would always be there, even under they were gone in September. So I think those deer were just focused on water, and I could not. And the only main body of water is, where most people have their bait piles and stands. So I just avoided it.
Right.
But I got a lock on maybe a few pieces of private. My good buddy, he's going to hook me up some farmers.
Nice.
See if he can get me on.
Nice.
Because it's just tough when you just need a break. Sometimes I just want to like a piece where I was like, you know what? I just want to go where it's not necessarily easier, but I don't have to work as hard. Like there's big deer in there. It's farm field. The farmers are, there's crops, and it's like a block of timber. A lot easier hunting. Yeah. And there's nobody. I can hunt a field edge or near field edge and not worry about anybody. Like 1,000 ladder stands, posted up on the edge. So
that was a big thing for me this year. Was just and I know you and I even talked about it. Like we texted about it a couple times, and we actually had a phone call where we were talking about it.
You decided you.
I was like, screw this! I'm buying a farm in Iowa. Yeah, it was just an odd year. It was probably one of the hardest I've had in like recent memory. Like where, I felt like I was doing all the stuff I should do right. You know what I mean? And it was just struggling to, find even just find a worthy opponent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was similar to you. It's like the place I was checking that I knew historically had been or should be good, or that there was food or whatever. Just everything that you could possibly draw up of like reasons to like check something or a strategy or whatever, like didn't matter what I tried, it was wrong.
Yeah.
Just 100%.
I had high.
I shouldn't say 100%, but like more times than not.
Yeah, like I had high standards this year for the big woods. I ran cameras, all last year and the year before, and hunted it pretty hard last year, and this year I hunted even a lot more efficient, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I set the bar pretty high, and it was like I didn't want to not shoot a deer that I knew was living in there,
right?
And having dreams of a 130, you have them all the time in a piece
when
of
you
woods.
know they're there.
Yeah, and it's like I know there's but I had 10 cameras on average in that piece. I didn't get one deer over 120 inches.
Now, do you think? Do you like in hindsight, looking back on it, do you feel like your game plan was good, or do you feel like? Because I know you spent a lot of time there, like scouting and stuff like that, and so.
I would say it's my best worst season ever. I was at full draw.
That's my best worst season ever.
Yeah, it's like I was at full draw 4 times.
Right.
No shots, and not because
that sounds like me last year.
Like in the big woods, it was so thick. Like I had, the one deer. The only deer I regret I didn't. It just makes having flash PTSD here, but 15 yards is deer. 15 yards.
For those that are listening, we obviously don't have video. Yeah. Greg is now in the corner, curled up in a fetal position, shaking.
But anybody's hunted mountain laurel, it's thick, nasty, and have a shooter buck at 15 yards, in and out, bird dog and does, and you're like, cool. I'm just gonna not do anything, and because I can't, I maybe could have squeezed an arrow in there, but I'm like, I'm not risking that, I want a solid, vital shot. I'm not gonna flank him, or try to for the whole femoral artery thing, or shoot him in the neck. This is not. Too many things go wrong, and I'm in a very flat. It's not like these deer like they can run anywhere. It's like
right.
There's a few swamps, stuff like that. Last thing I need to do is have that deer run into a body of water somewhere. because
Right.
tracking dogs won't go in the water.
Right.
So it's like having those moments was great. I'm at full draw, and it's like no shots. Okay, I technically won. You know, just because I didn't kill anything does not necessarily mean the season was a disaster.
Right.
You know?
So if you were to tweak anything, looking back on it, what would you tweak? Like, well, say, let's look at it this way: looking forward, knowing what you know now, going into your third year, what are the things that you would change?
The year before, last year, I hunted on the fringe of the laurel. This year, I kind of moved in like the first 10 yards.
Now, why did you move in?
Because last year, most of the deer were in that fringe section. They were just inside the laurel, not in the deep stuff. Because the deep stuff is like, I don't even know, like, you can't even really hunt it unless you're like dug a foxhole.
Right.
You can shoot, from the ground. Like, you can't hunt it from the elevated position because you literally have one shot on a trail.
Right.
So I was out in the open. I was going to survey the year before. All right, this is where they're at. I'm going to move in a little bit, found the scrapes. And it's like they were just, like, I just did not have the window. Like, I wouldn't really tweak. I'll maybe change some trees, like, really dissect the tree a little bit more. Because, like, there's a couple spots, I'm like, when you're down a laurel, you're like, man, that tree will look really good. But when you're on the outside, like, looking in, you're like, I could shoot down in there. No, you can't. It's like the deer would stop. Yeah. I'd have like a tail, it's like, or I have like his nose, and it's like, I can't.
He has to stop at the exact perfect time, and you got a 6
people that hunt laurel, they understand that. It's like, that's the most frustrating thing, because, I mean, the one deer I could have spit on him. That's how close he was. I'm like, I just had nothing, just a sea of this nothingness, and the one mistake I did make is not shooting distance over the summer. I'm hunting laurel, I'm not shooting past 20 yards is a far shot.
Right.
And the only shot I had was a buck at, 48, 50, 52 yards.
And it was the one spot that you had the open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't comfortable taking that shot. So I didn't even, had to pit on him. I was like, can't do it.
Right.
It was not there. And I was like, I'm not risking this. I've been down that road too many times.
Right. Similar to him being close and just in the laurel. It's like,
it's not there. It's not there.
So how do you change your setups for this year in there?
Just find a better tree. Like the area I was at was great. I mean, it was I needed to move about 15 yards in front because for some reason I was on the downwind side. What I thought would be the downwind side with the northeast, but those deer were just up further. I don't know what was food or whatever, so I'm going to go up, and they would come across this opening, and it's like they would literally, dart across this opening. It's pretty wide open. They would come out of this like draw, I guess, of laurel, and they would just, the does would skirt across there as fast as they can, and the bucks would just be in tow. So I'm like, I need to see where they were going, and I think I know where they're going, but I just have to be selective. And there's some trees I think I could probably get 25 feet up. It's a good surveillance spot, and also like a kill tree.
Right. So what time of year was most of this like? So let me ask this. Let me back up for a second. So the 4 different times you went to full draw, like was it all? And I know the answer to this because you and I were talking, but was it all like within the same kind of phase of the season, or what phases were these different encounters?
I think the first one was October. I found that buck sleeping. Came along the swamp edge, and he was sleeping. I thought he was dead, hit by a car or something.
Keep going. Yeah.
Going up.
Yeah, going up.
There we go. Going up. So I thought he was dead, and I'm like, and it's just sticker bushes. I'm like talking to myself, like there was another me there. I'm like, is this really happening? Is he dead? And then I see him like move a little bit. I'm like, I'm gonna shoot this buck sleeping, and full draw, just no shot. And he skedaddled.
When was that again? I
think that was the 3rd week of October, maybe.
3rd week, okay.
It's somewhere around there. And that was the only That was the only buck I seen in October.
Okay.
It was right before my vacation. October was a bust this year for me. Cameras were awesome, but I was in the wrong place.
Oh, really?
Every
time.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
don't
awesome.
you love that?
Yeah, like that's heartbreaking.
That's good stuff right there.
And
that's why maybe like sometimes I'm like, man, sometimes my cameras just depress me.
Like that's one thing about old school cameras. You don't know what's there until you pick them up 4 months later, and you're like, that doesn't sing so much now anymore,
Right. But in the moment, it's like, yeah. For
And
sure.
November was good. You know, I was on deer a lot.
Which is funny because like you're typically not the rut guy. Like
Yeah.
you hate the rut.
Yeah. And the one I had, the biggest deer I had at full draw, he was with some does.
Was this the second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he
First
was,
week of November?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was November 4th or 5th, somewhere around
Yeah.
there. And he was biggest deer I had on camera. He was probably 130 inch,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that was a marsh deer. Like I threw one sit in the marsh and he came through just
One sit
with does and just just so thick.
Now,
And
why
it's
did you specifically pick that date or in and around that date in the marsh
wind.
for a reason? Oh, it was just
yeah, it was
wind
just,
based.
yeah, just because I had I was like, I'm gonna hunt a half a day, you know. Because I told Monica, I was like, I'm on vacation, but I only hunt in the morning till I'll be home at like 3 or 4, or I'm gonna hunt from like 10 to dark.
Right.
And she goes, I want you here at night. So I was hunting till like 2, and then like still hunt my way out and be home for dinner.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just go through sitting there, and it was like fire all day.
Morning sit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, all day. And it's a bear to get back in there. Like it's a one and done setup, you know? And when I got down, it's just like it was just a runway. So I actually had a crappy camera in my bag I put up. And so I was like, all these deer coming through there. Well, that camera I pulled like 2 weeks ago, it was just like fire. For like that was like 4 days. It was just like 24-hour, just buck parade does chase. I mean,
Now, is that typical for that area? Is that like a consistent 4-day window that you've seen in the past, or is this
that
like
there was just
something
I've never
different?
seen. I mean, I've never had a camera have that much. Like I was like in it. It was like there must have been a hot day or two, because it was like just bucks after bucks after bucks.
Wow.
You know, and it's like the same group of deer. Just I mean, they were like running. You could hear, you know, like I had it on video mode, and it's like I already got like 10 days of footage. And batteries were dead. Like it was just like
just
that
many deer passing through.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So that's a good feather in the cap. And it was like one of those spots you see. It's like, man, I really want to hunt that. And I never did.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to hunt it, and it was like, bing, like that's the spot. But
right now, does that area get a lot of pressure in and around that?
Yeah.
In and around there.
The private gets, that's the public borders gets fucking hammered with duck hunters, and there's a couple really good hunters that hunt that piece, but they're hunting for bait.
Right. Okay.
You know, so that's why the deer were coming through there. But it's like a small little funnel. You know, it's like,
how are you getting in there? Is it walk in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to blow out half the woods to get to that spot. So it's literally you get 1 or 2 sits, and it's over.
Right.
And so,
because I couldn't remember if that was a spot that you had to canoe into.
No,
or...
that was a spot a lot of people hunt, but to get where I was, like you're donating blood.
Right.
Like it's you're crawling on your hands and knees, like even with because I got a small little backpack,
right,
you know, and just bow, and I'm like almost like belly crawling through some of this just sticker bushes that blows over and falls over, and it's like old sticker bushes that like get petrified. It's like like sticks, you know. It's like this is raking you, like my clothes are all ripped, you know. And it's like it's such a good spot because you can't get to it from the public. No, only idiots like me go back there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I'm saying that now. Like, next year will probably be a trail blaze through there with a ladder stand and big pile.
So someone would have brought a chainsaw, like bushwhacked the trail through there, bring their ATV back.
Yeah, it won't be the first time, you know.
No, you're a champ for having a tree cut down. For someone to steal your trail camera.
You know, 3 or 4 cameras here. So.
I locked most of mine up this year, and so I haven't. What's that?
I had locks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. I haven't gone out and actually grabbed my trail cameras yet. They're all still. Actually, that's not true. I grabbed one. There was one that I pulled on like one of the last hunts I did during late season. I just happened to be close by that camera and pulled it, and there was a couple young punk bucks on it, you know, but nothing. That spot actually had a couple good deer the year before, right around like the very end of October, like, you know, which I kind of assumed because I knew there was like some does at like the bed back in this area. But this year it was just like a couple young punk bucks, you know. I wouldn't even venture to say that they would be good deer next year.
Yeah.
You know, put it, you know, just to kind of give you a frame of reference. But all right, so that's the second. Was that the second deer or the third?
The second.
Okay, so when was the third?
No. That'll be the second. The big was the third. The one at 50 was the third time.
Okay.
And the fourth time was after gun season. I had the flu.
I remember you were texting me while you were in the tree for this one. I remember this.
And I scouted. I did all that. And coming out, it was pouring down rain. And it was like a spot I never really hunted. Never even walked to that piece. I found a couple big rubs, as I'm coming up. And there was like a draw. I guess it's an old dump, I guess. I think we always called it the dump. I don't know if it ever was a dump, but that's just everybody called it the dump. Know, and there's always trash out there and stuff like that. But I think maybe it was the landfill at one point in time, just overgrown. And I come up and I guess I bumped the deer up out of his bed, and I mean he probably would have made Pope. I mean, and I seen him and I just darted fast I could, and I just didn't have the lungs. Yeah. Like I get to where he was going, and I get the full draw, and it was like, dude, my bell was like, I was getting electrocuted. It was like, it was all over the place, dude. I was like seeing, like, I couldn't even see straight. Like I could see bone. It's like drizzling. It was like almost like raining. Like I wasn't even comfortable taking a shot, I think, even if I was able to. But I was just so beat up. And I remember just laying there sweating. I was like sweating the whole time I'm out there. I was like, it was just awful. I missed work 2 days. That's why I was out there.
Missed work 2 days? Yeah. Took day off from work because I'm sick.
Yeah, and
gonna go hunt.
I mean, that was pretty cool. It was like the white-tailed drone style. You see, white horns coming through, and it's like where they're going. You kind of like cut them off, but dude, I gave everything I had running, and it was like just too much.
Yeah,
I had nothing left. I was like, pull back. It's like pull back went easy, but it's like it was just blurry. It's like in and out of consciousness, like, it's like your eyes
vision
there.
Your eyes are watering and stuff because you ran so hard. You were out of breath. Yeah, dude, that's the worst. Man.
But that was pretty much it. So I mean, as far as action, it was a great season.
Yeah. Because you were in it like all year. I remember just like you would text.
It was a slow start. Like September was brutal, man.
Yeah.
Like really brutal. It was like, I mean, I shot a doe open lane. I'm like, man, it's gonna be it. Yeah, I got my buck tag, and I was like,
yeah,
like it was just swan dive into shallow end of a pool. Nothing. It was like, wow, I'm getting, and I hunted a lot too, like after work.
Yeah.
And
because I mean, this was correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the first season since the new gig, right?
Yeah.
So and that was like one of a lot of reasons you made that move, but like one of the unintended consequences was that you were going to have the opportunity to hunt a lot.
September sucked, man. Like usually, I mean, it sucked.
It sucked,
and it was hot too. It's like every time I took off of work or left work, I was like, Colette has the softball and stuff like that. I'm like, well, all right, it's Wednesday to Thursday. And like the worst wind was hot. It's like Tuesday, northwest wind, cool. And I'm like,
sitting
watching that, watching softball. It's like, oh, the irony. I was like,
Wednesday through Thursday, Friday, it's 90.
Yeah. I mean, I had in September. I mean, those times like I loaded up and just go out, especially like in the big woods there, just going far where I think the bucks would be, and just not finding nothing. And it's like, I'm not even cutting a deer track, and it's like, it's demoralizing. It's like,
and it's hot.
Yeah, and
it's
I'm like,
buggy.
I looped 1.5 miles. You tell me I can't find any deer sign. And it's like, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. It's like,
right.
Start questioning. It's like, there's no fucking deer here.
Maybe I forgot everything.
And I got winded quite a bit this year in the Laurel because the thermals they just suck, man.
Yeah,
it's really rough. I mean, I did get winded by a lone deer early season.
I remember that.
I say it was a buck. It could have been that. I don't know, but it's like it came in and caught my ground scent. It's like, what can you do?
Yeah. It's I don't think I didn't get winded. I didn't get winded this year. I also wasn't around a lot of deer. This year, so there wasn't a lot of chances to get winded. For me, But I guess the encounters that I did have were quality. Similar to you. I mean, there was one real good one in PA that I've talked about, and then a couple that I've talked about, like in Kansas.
Oh yeah, I even had that one at dark come through. At 10 yards, just 5 minutes too soon.
Yeah,
I remember just sitting there paddling. That was when I paddled in on. I'm like, this is it. This is the morning. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
get in there like super way earlier than it needed to be. Like I couldn't sleep that night, and I was like, I'll just go out there
might as
super
well just
early.
Get up and go. Yeah.
And watching start to break, and I hear that. And like to my left, and it's like there's cornfield, like they're just starting to cut it. So I'm like,
Yep.
and he's coming back to bedding. I'm like, this is it, this is it. And it's like, I'm like looking at the sun, look direction of deer. I'm like, slow down, deer, slow down. He's like, I need like 10 minutes. Just give me like 10 minutes. Like, take a few steps, stop.
Man, any other time that thing would have took 40 minutes to get to you.
And he was like right out in front, and I get to see just bone, and in the dark, and I'm like, that's a big deer. That's a nice deer. Yep. And away he goes, and it's like daylight comes. I sat all day. That's the only deer I seen. I seen like 2 squirrels. It was like the most demoralizing thing. Because I'm like, I know he's in there. He's gonna come out. He's gonna come back to corn.
And you're just constantly looking in that direction, like waiting,
nothing,
waiting.
And I'm like, where did you go? Like, the food is over here. Like, nope. And I'm like,
must have had a different exit trail out of his bed.
Yeah,
or something. Who knows?
He probably got killed by somebody sitting over.
He probably was going to a corn pile.
Yeah,
like, go eat
leave a
before
cornfield to go to a corn pile.
Yeah, exactly. So what? So we talked a little bit about what you would change this year. What do you think? Like based on the season that you had, because I mean, like you did have good encounters.
Yeah.
Like some of the quality deer that you were looking for just weren't, in those areas, and just maybe weren't as plentiful they had been in the year, the previous year or whatever. What do you think you did well this year that you're like, you know what, these pieces, like I figured these pieces out this year and I need to just take those and now double down and expand on those?
In the big woods, the entrance and exit, the piece I was getting the most action, and I always struggled to get in there.
Okay.
And I found a way.
I remember you talking about that last year.
Yeah, it's like you're blowing out half the deer herd to get in there, but I found a way like through the swamp where it's like a trial and error how to get in there and not blow out deer. It's like breadcrumbs on your mapping software. You know what works, what don't work. So I'm always tracking my trails. I'm like, man, I'm
red. like nope.
Yep. And so it's
delete.
Like, and I try to like, all right, and it's like through the swamp edge because it was dry in the summer, but it was really kind of wet in the fall. Some of the spots, like I don't wear rubber boots this year. I hate rubber boots, basically.
I don't like them either.
So I had to be very careful how I went through the swamp. So it's like I really couldn't hop on islands. In certain spots you can, because the gator's on. I might go up to my ankles, but some of the stuff is like I go up to your knees. So you're like, well, I can't go that way,
Right.
And I would go that way with the rubber boots because it was like it'd be easy for me. So with the leathers, I had to be more creative with my approach, and it seemed to pay out because I had to move slower, and more selective in my steps.
Right.
Getting through that swamp, and it seemed to pay off. Like I didn't get as much ground scent, or maybe it was I slowed down. Maybe I could see things in the dark. Like I wasn't in such a rush to get there. Like I was giving myself plenty of time to get to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
I had like the decent trees. I wouldn't really change too much, except shooting distance. Like I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Right. So what else did you do? What else did you do well? Like so the access got better.
Yeah. My exit, I didn't blow any deer out walking out, which was kind of, I don't know, surprised me, especially in the big woods. Like I didn't really see deer eyes or anything. So my exit was by sheer luck, basically. I'm going to go out, I'm going to leave this way because I came in one way and kind of went out like another way. I don't want to stink up the whole both 2 trails,
Right.
So I was like, or the same trail. So I was like, I went in this way and I kind of went out like the long way. And I never really seen eyes walking out, never deer blowing. So that was just by sheer luck, I think. I got lucky. I'm like, I'm going to go this way. It's like, I found like a couple eye tacks. I'm like, man, I can go this way. And but I was in no hurry walking in or out this year.
Right.
And I would say another thing that went well was, I don't know. Like, I really wouldn't change anything. And things I would change, like we just kind of talked about. Like I wouldn't.
Right.
I'd hunt the same spots again next year.
Right.
I would
Have
just
you
like
figured
tweak
out,
them a little bit.
Have you gotten down? Because for me, like one of the hardest parts in the big woods is just their direction of travel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's one of the things,
They're
especially
flighty.
especially like when it's a brand new piece, and big woods. It's not like you have like a lot of times you don't have like a destination food source that's close by that they're actually going to be moving. That you can say they're going to be moving from east to west in the evenings, or taking into account wind. But we all know, like, look, deer will walk with their ass in the wind or face in the wind. Like, it just depends on where they're trying to get to. You know?
And I know I did pull the one camera I had on video mode where I was hunting. I had all those deer like 15th November or something, 20th. And I was there the day before, like 2 days before. And like I said, 2 days after, it was like World War III. Deer everywhere, running all over the place. Rawr, rawr. You hear it. And I'm like, where was that when I was here? You know,
Right.
You know, so it's like big woods is like, if you're not there,
if you're not
deer,
in it, yeah.
like you could be in the right spot, just you're a day early, 2 days early. So I think next year I'm gonna do it 3 days. I'm gonna give 3 days in a row.
Right.
You
have
know?
you started to dial in, like, because I know you and I are kind of similar in this way where we like dates.
Yes.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
have you started dialing in any dates
Yeah.
in and around locations? In there?
November 2nd to the 5th was good. 4th was 2nd to the 4th was amazing. And the 11th through what's it, probably the 15th. It was like a 4 or 5 day stretch.
Mm-hmm.
There was some deer movement going through.
Yeah. Anything in October, or was it just
October 18th and 20th, just wrong spots.
you just if you can't see that because you're obviously this is audio.
Yeah, we just
like I'm telling people who are listening to this like they don't know.
We're
Like,
high-fiving,
I'm an
yeah.
idiot. Greg mentioned the 18th to the 20th. We just fist pounded because those are the dates.
So it was every camera that I had a lot of scrapes that were dead this year.
I did too. Surprisingly, yeah.
Those 4 scrapes that were usually banger.
Yeah,
goes
same.
down.
Same.
I mean, spikes coming through, but the bigger guys like
same
nothing.
Places where I had hammers, and I've shown you all of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah,
those.
you're usually good on finding big deer.
Yeah, like all of those. There was one that I showed you.
Yeah.
That was the one that I had the encounter with on the 18th. You know, and I've talked about him, but yeah, he was the only one that was, and he wasn't even like giant for even his area. Like he was just a good deer.
Yeah, he's a nice deer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I want to get better instead of the September game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I get some access to this private piece, I might have a better play.
Right.
You know, it's tough too. Like having private would be nice.
Yeah.
It'll be different for me to have it. You know, and I'm kind of reluctant. Like I can get it. I could always.
I'm reluctant too. It's like when I was out in Idaho with Wilson, like we were talking about, because Wilson's one of those dudes that like he just. If you've ever met Wilson, he is like one of the most likable people you'll ever meet in your life, and everybody likes him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's just that type of person, you know? And so that dude had private access like all over the county. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so when I was out in Idaho, when we were hunting elk, we were just kind of talking about it the one day, and he was pulling up his map, and he's like, dude, I don't hunt any of these spots anymore. He's like, you know, here's this person, this is their name.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'll text him and tell him you're going to stop by. Like, just go ask him to hunt the spot. He's like, I guarantee you, like, they'll let you do it. Go to this guy, and he was like, basically qualified. Yeah. He's like, these are the farms I wouldn't go back to, or I would go to because it was like close, you know, and I was trying to get in for like the last hour of light or whatever. He's like, but here's like the 5 farms that like were banger, like every year banger. Like you should go talk to these people.
Just do it, Clint.
I'm like you. I'm like reluctant. Like I'm too stupid. I'm like, no, I want to get kicked in the ding ding for like 4 months straight. You know, it's
I think I just need to diversify, like I said, my portfolio. You know, I mean, the biggest deer I've ever seen have always been on public. And it's probably why I gravitate towards these pieces. It's not like I don't need the private to see. Like I've seen legit, you know, 150, 160s. You know, I've encounters with deer like that. And a few times I've hunted private, I've seen nice deer, but I've never seen megas.
Right.
So it's like, but if you ever need like a reset, you know, or something, it's like I can go somewhere and be like, all right, there was a 4-year-old deer in there or a 3-year-old deer. Like, all right, let me go change of pace. Let me go do something. Or even, you know, even in November, like I come over to Cumberland Barry Bridge, there's Swedesboro, there's a few, and 2 farmers live close to the Cumberland Barry Bridge. So it's like I can hit them in November after work, you know?
Right.
So it's like, all right, it'd be nice to have something closer, you know, 20 minutes from work, so to speak, is better than me driving all the way home, you know, or further to get that last hour or 2 of light. So,
yeah. The speaking of finding hammers, like when am I going to get you to the north piece with me?
There's no snow this year. Well, they got let us know up there.
No, I was actually
a ghost town.
I was just looking, and the weather doesn't seem that bad. I don't think they have any. They might have got it like a little bit in this last like bit of rain and stuff that came through. I don't know.
It's gonna be a warmer winter, I think, this year.
I haven't talked to. I was texting with Tom the other day, but I haven't talked to him. Like, I haven't asked him about the weather actually recently. But that's an area. Yeah, I know you want to hunt some bears.
Yeah,
that's a place you can do both. I need to get you up there this year and do some scouting.
I want a bear jacket.
Want a bear jacket? You want to look like what's his name in The River Runs Through? Yeah. Like, is that what no, it's not River Runs Through. It's
with Robert Redford.
What's that?
With Robert Redford.
Yeah.
Or Redford. I just messed that all up.
Yeah,
sorry.
Him and like Brad Pitt, and like Brad Pitt's kind of like.
Oh no, that's the Legend of the Fall.
Legend of the Fall.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, where the old man, like after he has his stroke, is like, yeah, it's that you're gonna look like that guy, like with his big, like I think it was actually a buffalo pelt.
I want the head as the hood, this rock.
Right. But yeah, man, I need to get you up there. I need to get you up there scouting with me, dude. What do you think? You down?
I had to buy snake boots. I don't like snakes.
Yes, I wear snake boots. Well, you don't have to wear them now. Like, I don't wear those until like after turkey season. That's like my cutoff. Like after turkey season, when I'm up there, then I wear snake boots pretty much every time. But I usually try to get everything done before that. That way I ain't fooling with snakes. You know what I mean? Because I ain't down with that. It's like I put the cameras up and I don't check them till like a nice first cold day, like first cold weekend, like September.
I ran into timber rattlers in Jersey end of October. Warm days. They're like, why are you out?
Dude, I hate
go to sleep.
Yeah, dude, I hate them. But yeah, no, we need to get up there, man. I'll when we're done here, I'll
take the shaggin' wagon.
Yeah, dude, take that thing. Like I tell you, man, you got an open invite, dude. There's a you can sleep on the floor, or you can use like bring a pad and sleep on the floor, or you can use Chad's hammock if you want some hammock sleep. Yeah. Like I don't see how he's comfortable in that thing. No, he sleeps in it all the time.
It looks very uncomfortable for a man of his stature.
Dude, he gets in it and it's like he doesn't move. It's ridiculous.
Well, because you can't.
He doesn't move. He doesn't move anyway. Like he sleeps like a vampire. Like he crosses his arm. I'm not even lying. He crosses his arms and his legs, and that's how he sleeps all night. Like you'd think he's dead.
Yeah, buddy.
I get the mirror out sometimes and put it underneath his nose and make sure he's still breathing. But no, dude, you need to come up. You need to come up with me this year and do some scouting. I'm going to plan to go up hopefully in like the next probably 2 or 3 weeks and get my first trip up there. Because I still have all my cameras up there that I haven't pulled. But well, cool. We got I think we got a couple listener Q&A questions we'll run through. Sweet. I just kind of like some of them were similar, so I just pulled the ones that were like kind of the general ones that
they know it's me asking the questions for me, or you just did a broad?
I just did a broad, like whatever, magical mystery guest, All right, so we're gonna jump into this one first. Elk hunting versus whitetail hunting. What's your favorite and least favorite aspect of each? Elk hunting. Let me ask this first. I'll add on to it. What do you prefer, elk hunting or whitetail hunting?
Whitetail.
Okay. I figured as much. Okay, so now we can answer the question.
Elk hunting was fun. If you're in shape and your boots are fitting well, elk hunting's great.
Yeah. It's also good to see elk.
Yeah, true. But if you're not in shape or your boots, or you get hot spots, it's like hiking. It's just awful. Like whitetail hunting, you could be injured and still get some whitetail time in the woods and be pleasurable. But like elk, I like camping anyway. I've always done that my whole life. So elk hunting it's a nice way to camp with weapons, basically. Right. And hopefully you kill something.
Camp with weaponry.
Or and to camping in
Jersey, country. We call that going to the grocery store.
Yeah. Like elk, like and camping in like where there's predators, like that could harm you and kill you. Like at a danger, it's different than what I have here. But I would choose whitetail.
Yeah. So I'm similar to you in that where I prefer whitetail hunting. It's probably because it's
maybe because I haven't killed elk. Let me just say, maybe once if I killed a big bull, it might change
my mind. Yeah.
But I've had screaming bulls like close. That is exhilarating. It's like turkey hunting. They're gobbling all over. You get super excited, but
it would be different, I think, for me. Because I always debate this because Chad and I actually talk about this. Because Chad is like got the Western bug. Like he's like, I will hunt. He's like, if you told me I could hunt like big bulls every year or elk every year, and I couldn't hunt the whitetail rut, or I couldn't hunt whitetails ever again, he's like, sign me up. He's like, if I couldn't hunt, but I could only hunt like September for elk, but not another day in the year, he's like, I'll take that deal every time. And I'm like,
oh, he's killing elk, so maybe.
Yeah, it's like, for me, I still prefer whitetails, and I don't know if it's because it's local to me, so I know I can go out and do it more often, and I just get more days of field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Than elk.
The one thing with elk hunting is you go out there for 2 weeks, you're hunting for 2 straight weeks.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Like, because it's so far away from me, I'm out there for 2 weeks, it's 100% elk. Around here, even on vacation, it's like, well, it's like 90-10,
right.
Or even 80-20.
Right.
But
the favorite and least favorite aspect of each. So my favorite part of elk hunting is actually seeing elk, because it's just because like they look like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy, especially when they're bugling and they're screaming. Like, being able to call and like interact with them, like, that's just, a lot of people like turkey hunting because of that. I just suck at turkey hunting, but be able to do that with a 900-pound animal, like, that's pretty freaking cool.
I think for me, elk hunting is possibility of getting snow in September while you're camping, because I love camping in snow.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
And like I said, both times I've gone, I've had snow, so I'm like, this is pretty rad. It's September, it's snowing,
right?
There's elk, and it's like, I enjoy that.
Right. I think my least favorite part of elk hunting
is the drive.
Dude, no doubt, is the drive. This year I flew, so that wasn't bad. But yeah, the drive sucks. Like, that's the worst.
Yeah, Montana for me is like 30 hours of straight driving, like no rest.
Yeah, it's brutal. That's definitely the worst. My favorite aspect of whitetail hunting is, this is gonna sound really weird, but it's actually the preparation. Like,
your favorite?
Yeah, like
scouting for me.
Yeah, it's the puzzle.
Yes.
That's the part that I like the most. It's the strategy and the puzzle.
Yes.
And I know you can be strategic with elk hunting. I just don't know enough about it to do it, to be there with it, But yeah, for sure, for me, it's the strategy aspect. My least favorite part is
not killing any bucks.
Not killing any bucks. That's kind of broad. I'm gonna try to pick something a little bit more specific. My least favorite part is, hunting whitetails is my limited time at home and not being able to just go hunt the days that I want to hunt. Like, whenever I get good weather, the right wind, being able to just be like, yep, I'm going today. The fact that I have to kind of work it around work and stuff like that. I know everybody does, so it's like I'm crying about everything that anyone else would cry about. But that's, to me, is like the worst part, because it is local to me, and I theoretically could do it every day if I wanted to. It's like the best weather days. It's like I'm always, either have a obligation at work that I can't get out, or it falls on a freaking Sunday and I can't hunt it because we don't have Sunday hunting. Like, that's, to me,
losers.
Losers. Freaking losers.
My least favorite part is, I don't know if I have a least favorite. I enjoy it all. I would say my least favorite part is
baiting.
Is all that time and preparation, and just, I don't even call it least favorite, just your effort, and you don't get the return investment. Right. Either but people, wind, weather, you get your vacation, and it's like 5 hot days.
Right.
So it's like it just stifles that deer movement, and it's like, that's probably like the least. You plan your whole year, like, all right, I'm gonna hunt the first week of November, and it's just hot. Well, or it's just raining the whole time, and you're like,
or you could just say, like, it's the variables that are out of your control. Like, it's not that you don't mind having to work around, like, oh, the wind is not right today, but it's just like, when you get a stretch of days, and those are the days you have, and you can't get anything to line up. It's like, it's cool if, like, maybe one thing doesn't line up for me, but if it's hot and I have people walking all around me, it's like, man, I can deal with the heat. Like, I'll figure something out. But, like, if I have to deal with the heat and the pressure all at the same time, it's like, man, I'm not a happy
everything
camper.
just goes against you. It's like, I have 4 days to go somewhere, and it's like just crap, and you're like, what?
All right, so we're gonna grab another question here. Like, I'm saying the question, the whole word. I used to just say question, but you gave me shit because you're like, well, you can't say like the last part of the word. Like, it's just too much, too much effort for you.
Lazy.
So this fella writes in, says, don't you think the race for the lightest gear might be, and we had a couple of these, but do you think the race for the lightest gear is sacrificing safety, i.e. kind of like one sticking?
I think if shortcuts are taken by the manufacturer to design a specific lightest or claim to have the lightest, yeah. And if, but then in the same token, if people are using the equipment the way it wasn't intended, so if you're sticking, if you're adding a cam cleat to a stick that wasn't designed for, you're taking some of that risk.
Yeah.
So
the way I always
ounce counters, like I don't count ounces.
Yeah.
You know, and I've fallen from a tree. So it's not about being light. It's about being safe. You know, and it's like
and smooth.
Yes.
It's like be more familiar with your gear. Yes. Don't worry about how much it weighs necessarily. Yeah. I always answer it this way, because when I did the one sticking video, I got a couple comments, similar to this kind of question, where it was, people were, I don't want to say poo-pooing the approach, but just like, hey, man, because at that point I was using a stick. I think no, I was using a tethered one stick for that one. But they were just kind of like, you're using one stick, it seems a little risky, blah 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 blah, this, that, the other, and my response to that kind of stuff is always like, look, anytime you leave the ground, you're assuming risk.
Yes.
Like, I don't care what you're using, you're assuming risk when you leave the ground.
The one thing with the one sticking is the safety aspect. Like alignments, you'll fall like a rock wearing alignments.
Oh yeah,
it's at least one sticking allows you to.
You're tethered in the whole time. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the whole.
You're choked to the tree basically the whole time.
Right. And so I always say, like, use gear that by a manufacturer that's trusted, and then use it to spec.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I'm assuming some risk because it's like I'm using one stick and I'm using an AM Steel 8er.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm assuming that risk because I know, and I'm getting from reputable manufacturers. I'm practicing with it so I can do it in the dark. Doesn't mean have zero risk.
Yeah.
I'm also tethered to the tree the entire time. If I do slip, I ain't gonna fall but like 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah.
And my tether's gonna catch me. So I think it's all the other equipment I'm using is rock climbing rated. Like where you start to assume risk is when you start cutting corners by using like unique climbing methods and stuff like that. Like if you're a dude that's using a carabiner and you're side loading it instead of using like a quick link that's climbing rated, like, you shouldn't be doing that, man. Like that thing is not made to do the job you're asking it to do. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. Like, so buy the right stuff.
We have the stuff at work, the OSHA standards at work with equipment, because people got corners,
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I can lighten this thing up. Well, it's not going to carry the load right, and you fabricate. We fabricated this, take this thing off. You're like, that's dangerous.
Right. Say, hey, I got this lawnmower.
Yeah.
Decided to take all the guards off and wear flip-flops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
thanks,
like,
but no.
Right. It's like, you're looking to only be able to count to 10, I guess, like using your fingers.
Yeah, because I mean, like as far as like light gear, I mean, look at cars, aerospace, they've been using it for a long time. It's just trickling down into our neck of the woods, if you will.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to modify a manufacturer's platform, make it lighter, you're cutting things off the angles and stuff like that. It's engineered into the platform to carry the load of that platform.
Yeah, and to do specific things.
Yeah,
specific. Yeah. So exactly.
I mean, talk to any engineer. Most of them tell you don't cut a stick down.
Right.
But it'll work.
Oh yeah, I've done it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, and I used to cut down sticks for 2 years.
Yeah, like a square tubing. You just make it shorter. You're just making it less flexible, basically. But when you start like,
you're also making it less stable. Just think about your bow. When you shoot a 34-inch axle bow, that movement from left to right is a lot less.
A lot of people are afraid of movement. Movement's everything moves.
Yeah.
All lightweight stands,
Have some give.
Yeah, there has to be flex. It's engineered into, it's going to flex instead of break.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think,
just don't buy your climbing sticks from Alibaba. I think you'd be okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Lighter doesn't necessarily mean unsafe. And, and a climbing mechanism or a climbing
and anything can break.
Yeah.
Anything. There's bad machining parts and everything.
Yeah. And climbing method, even if it looks unconventional, if you're using the proper equipment, can also be safe. Yeah. But it's like anytime you're leaving the ground, you assume some risk. So that's that. Next one. So we had a couple questions about this. I lumped it all into one, or there was one that particularly kind of wrote it well. What's your take on the future of cell cams? What would you like to see happen with them? It was funny. I was texting Chad about this the other day because I feel like every year around this time, as soon as hunting season ends, all of a sudden you have this like uproar about like cell cameras. Like it's like it seems like it's been at least like the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand it. Like what
I see some people's the woodsmanship is technically getting taken out if you're time stamping it in a bedding area.
Sure.
If you're using it, if you have 50 cell cameras on a property and you're time stamping these deer, to me, that brings me no joy, personally.
Right. Yeah.
I can't knock somebody that's doing it because you get back into the recurve long bows, the recurves, the compounds. It's the same story.
Yep.
You're making it easier for deer. Like, at what point do you stop? There is a line, and some states have drawn that line.
Yeah.
Like no cameras during hunting season.
Yep.
Okay, because you're pressuring the herd, which might drive them somewhere else. I get that.
Right.
Yeah, but whitetails, I don't think you're ever going to see that line drawn because they're such a plentiful animal, and they're in every state, and there's excessive amounts pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a hard line to draw somewhere. It's going to take a biologist or a state to really take a stance against that.
Yeah. I mean, the way I always kind of answer this is that you're never going to legislate ethics, like, or poor ethics out of something.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's just like the old saying that, like, a locked car only ever keeps an honest person honest.
Yep.
The person who wants to steal your car is still going to figure out a way to steal your car.
And it's just something legal. Just because it's legal doesn't necessarily make it right, and vice versa. So the live stream that people have or really complaining about right now, because I've seen that the ATA,
that was the thing that kicked it off. Yeah.
But if you have your cell camera to every trigger to send it to your phone, it's the same thing as live stream. If you got 30-second video, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, nothing has changed. You went from live stream to, well, this has to send it to the app on the phone. You have 30 seconds of video getting sent to your phone every trigger. It's the same thing as live stream.
And you have a three image trigger. So you got 90 seconds of video that you're able just to stream.
It's the same.
It's funny because I messaged Chad about that, and and we kind of laughed about it because he was like, people act like this is new.
Yeah.
Your point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where it's like, this isn't new.
Yeah. They changed the wording of it.
You put a different name to it,
and you can say,
and people got all.
You can just live stream it right now. So it'd be like you're going to see a cell camera go. So any cell camera is going to be able to go live stream with the latest firmware update, because somebody's go, oh, let me see what's happening on the camera right now.
I could have done that years ago if I wanted to. I could put security cameras somewhere that I could live. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you could, the ability to do that. Now, it wouldn't be as convenient, of course. But my question is always, what is the normal average person ever going to do with that information?
Unless you hunt behind your house,
exactly,
it ain't serving you no purpose.
No, not at all.
And I don't live that world.
No, me either.
So to me, I don't necessarily have a dog
in the fight. Yeah,
but I do see people.
I have an appreciation for people being concerned that, like, someone somewhere is going to take it too far.
Yes.
Like, I guarantee you, but that is also, you could also say the same thing about people who hunt in general.
Yes.
Right? Like, you look at, just take hunting celebrities, for example. They get ate up into that world. It becomes a race of, like, who has the biggest what on film and this, that, the other. And then there's a pretty popular case that's been out recently of some poaching that happened in Nebraska. You know what I mean? That,
dare you say their name? How dare you?
I didn't say it.
You know you want to.
No, I don't want sued. I mean, what are they going to get? What are they going to take from me? But, like, that was a pretty public thing. And so that, my point being is that
there's people always going to push the envelope.
Right. There people are always going to cross the line. And if they want to cross the line, if they can do it with cell cameras, they'll do it. If they can do it by poaching, they'll do it. If they can do it by, like, whatever other method, they'll do it. I mean, for me, like, if this person's writing in and kind of asking about, like, what is the line? For me, it's using it as anything other than something to reduce the amount of time that I need to spend away from my family to go check cameras and, like, grab inventory. Like, that's ultimately the purpose they serve
and
for me.
For the weekend warriors, like, people that hunt for, because there's a few videos I've seen on YouTube, people that hunt, uh, both on TV and YouTube, they're complaining about they're finding buck sign. There's cameras all over the place, or waterhole cameras.
Mhm.
You hunt 7 days a week. It's
Right.
easy for you to say, I just want to get away from it all.
Right.
Well, there's people that can't get away from it all. They
Right.
have 2 weeks a year to hunt, or weekends or Saturday because your state don't allow Sunday hunting. Well, what the fuck? Like,
Right. If I only have Saturday off to go hunt, but I want to check trail cameras.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe I have one day a week off or whatever. Then it's like, man, having a couple cell cameras to be able to check my cameras and
But
still be able to get my day in to
But trail
hunt.
cameras in general have changed hunting.
Yeah.
And any mapping software that we use have changed hunting. Like their technology, now there's drone deer recovery. There's drone. There's the line's always going to be pushed.
Yeah.
And it's up to the person to decide. I don't need to do that. Like if you're against cell cameras, I better see you with a fucking trad bow in your hand,
Right.
wearing fucking flannel, hunting from the ground, not even from a tree stand. Like,
Right.
where do you draw the line? Like, you have to, if you get up in arms by that stuff, man, maybe take a look in the mirror. Like, you're really upset over this.
Yeah.
Like, there's bigger things in the world happening, and this is what you're upset about. Like, this is why you're irate about.
Yeah. Personally,
I think you need to take a step back and be like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like,
Right.
you're worried about that. Rich people are always going to push, because this stuff's geared towards people that have money or surplus income.
Right. Because I was just going to say, someone who's able to, like you were saying, like, if they have like 50,
$10 a month for a cell plan, you got 50 cell cameras. And if you hunt that way, own it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to hear, like, I work so hard. Don't want to hear it. If you have 50 cell cameras on a 500-acre farm that you hunt very selectively, I don't want to hear about hard work.
Right.
You're cutting that in half, like, and own it. But
just be cool with it.
I pattern series using cell cameras. It better be the fucking opening line of your post when you see a big buck. Cell camera.
This one brought to you by cell camera.
Yeah, like, just own it. Like, we all know people that are doing it.
Yep.
Ain't nobody owning up to it. Like, I run a few cell cameras.
Yep.
And if I ever shoot a buck, I tell my buddy Tony this: if I ever shoot a world-class deer in Jersey using a cell camera, I will not put it in the books.
Yep.
That's my own personal thing. Call me whatever you want. I think that is that's fair.
Yep.
Like, I don't need recognition from it. I'm not going to get Pope and Young, and I don't even know it'd be legal with Pope and Young if you use a cell camera.
I don't know if I'd ever put anything in a book, just the simple fact that I don't even really know how to do it, and I don't know that I would. This is just kind of how I am. It's like, I just don't know that I would take the time to figure it out.
I just want one, so 100 years from now, I was here. That's it. I'm in the record books.
Let's see. I put my name in concrete outside when I built a patio. I wrote it with the sticks. I'm good. Oh, man. All right. The next one. How can postseason trail camera intel help for next season?
That's a.
You do a whole podcast on that.
I plan on leaving my cameras out this year till the end of February.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of mine are dead, but I typically let mine run all through gun season, at least until about this time of year. I let them run, and I might change batteries in them sometime during the fall. Like, I'll have them in the summer, and then as I'm hunting in and around and near some of them, I'll swap out batteries. If I happen to be passing by them. But I typically let mine out all year, and I think it helps for a couple things. I also put my cameras out really early, so my cameras aren't not in the woods very long. It's like, if I go grab them, let's say it's February now, so if I grab them sometime here in February, like, they'll all be back out probably by April.
Yeah,
because I'll get all my scouting done, and I want to I've learned, like you and I've talked about this in the past. I always find spots where I'm like, I'll have my key spots where I know I'm going to put cameras, where I could just go down a list of those in my mind now and tell you, like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a camera here, 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 like, just primary scrapes that I know are really good. And then I carry a couple in my pack when I'm scouting all the time, because whenever I come across a spot, and I'll be like, oh man, I need to come back here, and
get back there.
I need to come back here and put a camera here. I never get back there. I never go back, and then I don't know if it's good or not. And then because I'm not quite sure if the area is good, I don't make it back. So I don't end up scouting it in season, and it just gets away from me. So to beat that, I just started always carrying cameras in my pack. And even whenever I'm out postseason scouting, so even as I go pull cameras in like February, I'll have a couple in my pack, or at least batteries in my pack, to where as I'm picking up cameras, if I find a spot and I'm like, oh man, that looks like a hammer primary scrape.
Yeah.
I hang a camera right now because I will have to go back to that spot because I have a camera there.
I'm the same way. This year I started always having a camera and batteries.
See, I always carry batteries with me, but during the season, I don't always carry a camera with me during the season.
I got a reader, SD cards, batteries, and cameras.
Yeah, so I have the reader.
Like half my pack.
Yeah, I have the reader, batteries, and SD cards. I always carry those, but the camera I don't often carry.
And one thing I want to do this year with the cameras, because usually I'll pull them like right about now.
Yep.
Because there's a lot more pressure for his postseason scouting now than there was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
because
sure.
it's out there.
Yep.
So for me, mine is a deterrent. People see a camera because I know if I see it, like, because I'll camera bomb an area, I'll have like 3 cameras in a 100-yard area. If I walk by an area and it's like 3 cameras, all right, I'm out.
Well, that's a good tactic there, Howie. Yeah.
And some of my cameras are high, so low. Like they all look different brands and models and like different lock manufacturers. So it's like nothing looks the same.
So it looks like just 3 different dudes hung cameras in that general area.
Yeah. So it's like I'm gonna leave them out to like probably March,
right.
and then like start pulling them in March. I might even leave some areas that I know people turkey on because there's good bucks on there. I might camera bomb some, just throw some dead cameras out right before turkey season. People are like, leave the cameras out. Yeah.
That's a good little tactic. But to more specifically answer the question, how can the postseason trail camera intel help for next season? I mean, the one thing I do look for whenever I pull my cameras is when I leave them out, well beyond the postseason.
I wonder if is that after gun or is it like now?
See, I kind of consider it like, for me, I consider postseason anything after gun season, really, but I was actually just going to get to
Survivors.
That. So Survivor's number 1. 2, where has all the pressure been?
Yep.
3, if I let it out long enough, are there people walking through scouting, kind of looking in similar areas?
Looking for sheds.
Areas that I'm looking. Yeah, exactly.
And even if we're herding up, I don't really get a lot of cold weather in South Jersey, but I know like PA, they'll herd up in certain areas, under heavy snow or extreme temperatures. So you have those areas, no spots, like, all right, late season, they herd up here, it gives you a plan of attack to start your scouting or even like hunting for late season next year.
That, and if I am on a scrape and maybe I'm qualifying it, so maybe it's a new scrape for this year, I like to leave a camera on it almost for a full 12 months because I want to see if it's used in the off season as well. Because if it is, then I know that is a community scrape, and I'll qualify community scrapes a lot in the postseason.
Yeah, true.
So those are a lot of times the cameras where I'll have a scrape set, and it might be the first year that I found it, and that will just be there for 12 months, and then I'll go back and check that camera close to a year after, and I might have even hunted in the area, and I'll check it close to a year after, and then as I flip through, I'm looking at the dates in like October primarily, but what I'm really looking at is actually like June, July, and then December, January, February. Like, because if it's getting used in those months, then I know that like, okay, this is a good spot. This is a spot I need to pay attention to.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. All right, the next one, and then we'll do 2 more after this. Number 1 advice for looking at maps for scouting. Number 1 advice. Well, I mean, I think the one thing is that,
edges.
I was going to say, like, the one thing is that what we were talking about a little earlier with technology is like, it's so much easier now than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's a bunch of like, I personally use Spartan 4, which is what I've been using for the past couple of years. So, and for me, it changes. Like, it depends on what type of area I'm hunting. That will determine kind of like what I'm looking for. Like whenever I'm hunting low-lying areas that are flat, looking for edges, right? Just exactly what you said. What I started looking for more so, like in the north piece, because there's so much elevation. This is actually just like one of the things that Spartan Forge, like with their slope, like gradient, like they put a color, like to kind of show the slope. Like you can see this with just the topo lines and how close they are, but it doesn't pop out as much. Like when I look on it now and I can see the colors associated with the different kind of slope angle, benches I've never kind of noticed before started popping out to me. Access I noticed for an easier way to get into a spot started popping out at me. And it just kind of earmarked places that I should be kind of checking out. So in flat areas, I'm looking for, like you said, edge. In areas that has some like terrain, I'm looking for areas, at least to scout, like this isn't necessarily area to hunt because you're asking like what's the first like number one thing I look for
Yeah.
is I start to try to look for places where you'll have topography and edge come together or two things that kind of like meet at one spot.
Yeah.
Doesn't always have to be a pinch point.
Diversity, habitat diversity.
Yeah, I'm looking for the meeting of two things. You know, whether that's, you know, diversity of habitat, maybe it's water, and water's always great because it creates an edge and it creates diversity of habitat. It could be, you know, some type of like thermal hub, you know what I mean? That's like almost like a C kind of shaped bowl or whatever or maybe it's a couple of ridges kind of dumping into one spot, you know, something like that. You know, I think those are all kind of like things that you look for whenever you're looking at like mountain country.
Yeah.
But those are kind of like my go-tos.
Yeah. For me, it's just the diversity of habitat, edges, be it flat or mountainous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and terrain features I run into because people know points and saddles for the most part. People and benches, the average person now can pick them up on a map, and I find a lot of pressure on those spots. You know, so
saddles for sure.
Yeah.
Those things pop, especially a big saddle, like a good saddle, like that pops out.
There's always human sign there. So for me, I look for more of a like edge, you know, where two types of something's meeting, and I start from there.
Yeah.
I used to be a big terrain guy. I've gotten away from that. You know, just in Jersey.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on where you're at and how much pressure that area.
Yeah. Like North Jersey, the little rolling hills / mountains. There's eye shine everywhere, and most people hunt the terrain. So I'm looking for, you know, things that are meeting together, and I start by scouting there.
Right. Yeah. And I think if nothing else, I mean, you and I have talked about this before. It's like if you can't figure out a place to start just in general, find an edge, start walking it. You'll eventually run into deer sign, then start following the deer sign.
Correct.
Like that's like the easiest. I mean, I still use that whenever I'm in places I'm not familiar with. Next question. Favorite country to chase whitetails and 3 reasons why.
Country? As in, like terrain?
I'm going to say, we could go state, terrain, like any which way. Mountains. 3 reasons why.
I like it, and I like it. I
went real deep with that
one. Jot this one down. It just
might want to jot this one down. Nice.
It makes sense to me. Like the terrain and it just my brain absorbs it easily, and I can decipher it quickly. You know where steep terrain. Versus not steep terrain, it's just going to funnel deer down. It makes finding deer a lot quicker than, say, a 5,000 acre swamp piece. 5,000 acre mountain piece, I'll find deer a lot faster than that than 5,000 acres of briar swamp.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I prefer mountains or at least something with like terrain, you know what I mean, to move deer so I can more quickly find. But if I had to pick one, my favorite country to chase whitetails, it's actually Kansas or the plains. Like, I'm not talking, areas that are true kind of plains, like not a lot of trees, like big, like brushy draws and stuff like that. The reason why is because I just like I like glassing, and I like being able to watch something from far away and trying to figure out, like, all right, I can see him from like, 3/4 of a mile away. This is where he's going to go. Look at my map. And it's like goes back to an earlier question that we were talking about where, when the question was like, if we like whitetail or hunting elk better, and like, what's my favorite part of whitetail hunting? It's the strategy. And so I can actually play that long game strategy from afar, whenever I'm in Kansas, because I can watch what's happening. I could watch for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And then once I see like a pattern start to emerge, then I'm like, okay, now I know what to do. And I don't have to burn sits like going, there are no effing deer in this place. Like to like get there. I can watch a lot and just see how deer are reacting. I can figure out which deer are dominant, which deer are passive. Like you just learn a ton by observing. So that's the one reason. 2 is how mobile you are too. It's like whenever you see deer, you can go be on deer. You know what I mean? You don't have to just, again, sit still. And like I move even in like the hills and stuff like that. I'll still move, but it's not the same. It's you might be doing a lot more driving and glassing, but it's like the fact that you're mobile. It's like I'm just gonna go find a deer and try to like go kill it.
Yeah.
You know, it's different way of hunting. And then the third reason is because I've really grown to like hunting from the ground, even though I've screwed it up multiple times and it makes me want to like throw my bow. There's just something about being like at eye level and trying to beat them at their own game and beating them on the wind and just, you know, like this year I got drawn back, you know, like, and had 2 really close encounters and made a really fatal mistake that I shouldn't have made, you know, but it was like, I beat him on his terms. Like he had no clue I was there except I made one really bad mistake, you know? So those are the 3 reasons why for me. Last question. Chun. I did that pregnant pause for dramatic effect. Last question. Chun. Riddle me this. Do you ever wonder if the deer are thinking about you as much as you think about them?
Absolutely.
Every day.
That motherfucker's going to try and kill me.
Yeah. I hope they do. I hope they spend as much time thinking about me as I think about them, you know, because otherwise this is really a one-way relationship. This ain't going to work out for me. You know, I need a little more from you, you know?
Yeah, I think, you know, from like a predator-prey standpoint, they're always wondering.
Yeah.
I think that's just, they have to. They're always on alert.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're so much thinking about us per se as the question is worded, but they're constantly in survival mode.
Yes.
You know, and so whether or not they're specifically thinking about you, they are thinking about what is trying to eat me today.
I know that smell.
That's Greg.
It's close by.
I can smell him.
Yeah.
I can smell his musk.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that was it, dude. Another successful. Well, I won't say successful. We'll let everyone out there decide whether or not this was successful or not. Like,
I apologize now if it's not.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Yeah.
We're just gonna say sorry now
Let's put that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Sorry,
brother. I always appreciate you being here, man. I always look forward to our chats. I look forward to. We didn't get to scout last year together, so we have to make it a point this year. I'm taking you up north with me. We're doing that, and yeah, always just love having you over, man. Always a good time spending time with you. Before you get out of here, though, let people know where they can follow you, find out more about you, and any of the shit you got going on.
Yeah, Instagram, bowhunting fiend. Google my name, you'll find me.
Call his name 3 times like Beetlejuice will show up at your house. We're out.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. And if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And hell, while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a sub there too. I'd be super appreciative if you do those few things for me. Before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to the partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Spartan Forge, Tethered, Exodus Outdoor Gear, and Genesee Beer. And until next time, we'll see y'all.